right, here we are. Shema Yasharal. Ahea Alayanawa Ahea Akkad Shabbat Shalom Kwam Yasharal. Welcome to World War III. Our reference will be Judith 14, verse 10 in the Apocryphal books. This message is entitled Tribal War, which is sometimes called racism. I personally came into Hebrewisms while visiting another country. I had learned that an old Honduran man had cured AIDS, and he had won his case in a 1990, sometime in the early 1980s in New York. This information was quietly tucked away while my fellow Americans continue to suffer from a disease they call incurable. The American culture I once trusted would have you to believe that all things natural, things that are outside of you, who are human, decides this survival of the fittest rest, this case. Whereas folks who were outright racist created this philosophy. They orchestrated the greatest tribal war against my ancestors, which continues contrary to my people to this day. A strong reminder to our readers, our listeners, and you watching this video, that Indigenous Hebrew Israelite Awakening is not a racist religious group. We simply live here. Now today I'm putting myself on video so that you guys can see my face. So a lot of people who say they haven't seen me before. So I'm doing it today. Here I am. I have my fringes on, as you can see. Here's my fringes. Today's the Sabbath, so I just thought I'd do this. So it's a special occasion. You can see my face. This is what I look like. And let's get to this message. So here's the quick note. The Lashwan Kodash, you call the Bible, which means holy tongue, is more specific than you think. And although men are given the greatest credence in a male-driven society, we will focus on our Hebrew Israelite foremothers to stop some of you racist Hebrew Israelites out there. Put you guys in y'all tracks. When I found out there was a cure, and at this time I was no longer a Christian, I was totally upset, angry at the children of Esau, you Europeans, for creating and keeping this knowledge hidden. Had every right to be, for living and having a long history of living in, the United States, full of racism and hate and all these things. Have every right to be. And every Hebrew Israelite in America has every right to be angry at this information. As a Hebrew Israelite, having every right to be upset with this culture. And it's a culture, folks, that keeps my people on the edge of riot based on an unethical tribal war of racism. And it's continuing. It's not going to stop until people address it. And then they go on to tell you that the states are united. I mean, come on, folks. I remember seeing angry Hebrew Israelites on the street corners teaching to hate Edomites because their Bible says God hates Edomites. Well, you're taking that out of context. God doesn't hate them because they're Edomites. He hates them because of the actions that they are doing. It's hate because they will not relent. And again, don't act like you haven't at least seen these angry Hebrew Israelites on YouTube barking their hate. Their message should be the Most High Ahea Laherai, meaning I am he who sees, is a God, meaning power of peace. Please understand this. The Hebrew Israelites are supposed to be God's example of himself on earth. The true message of the Lashawan Kadash of my people, which Christianity calls a holy scripture, is for the people that he chose to be a peaceful people and to seek peace and pursue it by all means, and not to be angry racists as these Hebrew Israelites are teaching. Y'all need to know that. That is the message. And some of them, they'll get on here and they'll make God equal to the sinners that, that are barking these sins and creating division and all this other stuff. But that was one of Esau's dealings with his own father, Jacob. He created division by not listening to his own father. This is not something that we're supposed to be doing as Hebrew Israelites. Now, see, the religion of racism is fueled by a culture of naturalists who hold on to the practice of their own ancestors. It has grafted itself into all privileges of the society that calls itself Christian. And this is what Christians were doing when the United States was created. They call themselves Christians, later known as white, a created society. I've known racism was evil since I first witnessed it in elementary school. Even then, the ancestors, and I call my angels, would come down upon me saying, keep calm, keep the peace. True Hebrewism is a culture of maintaining peace on a peaceful earth. Skilled, or the learned Hebrews, know the nations are simply jealous of the Most High God because he chose one tribal group on this earth and set them aside. And it just is what it is. Side note for the black people who don't know they are Hebrews yet, and even you Native Americans and some of you Latinos and mulattoes out there, you call this intuitive factor soul. Like James Brown used to teach us. I got soul. That's what it is. Yet all of the other nations, United Nations, that come together here at New York, are equipped and ready for war, aggression, which has nothing to do with Hebrewisms. When you add these aggressive factors to a Hebrew Israelite culture, you're pushing God aside. That's right. Now, I am no advocate to add the acts of fourth floor Becky, look her up, to anything holy. Her own husband of color almost said her acts was of racist intent. Fourth floor Becky, her acts are the least example of my people otherwise being terrorized by caged in prisons, on Indian reservations, and legally murdered for holding wallets. This is the terrorism that we have to go through since 1492, and even longer than that when the Arabs had us in slavery. So for you angry Hebrew Israelites out there who can't see the light of the way, Simply read the apocryphal as hidden, the apocryphal book of Judith. They hid it simply to hide the fact that Esau is the Macedonians you call Greeks today. You know, all that bull crap that they say that the Greeks did the first of this and the first of that. Well, you'll find in this book that Haman, also known as Ammon, was one of the first worms to try and steal culture. It's there. But there's other good news you should know that's in this book. Not only does Judith lead the Hebrew Israelites to stop tribal genocide conducted by the king of Assyrians. Yeah, a woman led the Hebrew Israelites. But Achior, the chief of the tribes of Ammon, makes peace with the God of our forefather. Yeah, the God of our forefathers. This guy, Achior, who is the chief over the tribes of Ammon. Some of you Hebrew Israelites out there call the modern Japanese Amorites, which is a peaceful people, I might say, in their indigenous form, in their indigenous beginnings. They were a peaceful people. Let's not forget what the law of Moses says about their acceptance in the law. This would dispel racism just like that. But this is not what you hear on the street corners where these Hebrew Israelites are preaching that hate speech stuff. Here's a final note, and it's a long one, mind you, so be patient, be calm. What Esau and his descendants have done with this religion of racism does not escape me, nor does it escape the ancestors, nor does it escape the Most High Ahia, who is a just God, who performs just acts. And he should never be put on an equal or same level of a people who once caused his chosen heritage to be called monkeys. So when you Hebrew Israelites are out there making God equal to the racist forebearers of the Edomites today, when you make God equal to these people, you're actually calling him a monkey and putting him on a lesser term. Because again, we are God's temple on the planet. You guys don't know, you guys don't realize what you're doing. To be equally yoked to the unbelievable acts of a race is not godlike, but destructive. That's what racism does. It's destructive. Just like the people who maintain that culture. Just because God chose one people over another does not define him as a racist. The word is not even in the Bible. But a lot of you Hebrew Israelites are out there teaching all Israel that God is a racist. That burns in my heart. Because if so, he would not have created no other race on the planet if he was a racist. And how can any one of you stand in the halls of God without a contrite spirit without being peaceful. It's two-facedness. That's what that is. Don't think that your murderous words of association will save you in the face of the Messiah, the kinsman redeemer. It's not going to happen. Now, as for the rest of you United Nations, especially you Edomites running or ruining your circumnavigated earth, be like Achior the Amorite, because death is sure to us all. That is a part of nature. Or else. Get ready to meet your Creator, who you taught to your people or your tribe that he's non-existent. Now, here's a special note for you people out there. For a special people who are in captivity, to be saved, and not like the Christians teach, to be saved has always meant prisoners were held by enemy captors, and a kinsman, one of your relatives, a kinsman redeemer, came to your rescue. In all antiquity teaches that. The Edomites, Europeans, these Europeans, the Edomites in their antiquity teach this concept in their Trojan Wars. What do you think they were doing? Wake up, my people. To you Native Americans, Latinos, mulattoes, and you Negroes scattered in diaspora. You true Hebrews still sleeping with eyes wide open under the wrath of Jacob's troublous times, from your humble conscientious objector, Ruach Mahalak. Now, I'm not done yet, because I want to give you guys a couple of scriptural references. I want y'all to know that in Judges chapter 4, verse 2, Judge Deborah, and yes, she was a judge, just like Joseph, just like Joshua, just like Moses. Judge Deborah led the Hebrew Israelites against Sisera, okay, a woman. And as we just discussed, Judith led the Hebrew Israelites against the Assyrians. You hear me? Queen Esther, a queen, stood next to a king and led the Hebrew Israelites, not only creating Purim, one of the things that we must do as Hebrew Israelites, but she led her people against Haman, the Edomite. And not just Haman, but there was a decree that went out from India all the way to Ethiopia, which is Africa. She led her people. She was a savior to her people. A kinsman redeemer. And all you Israelites out there that's screaming and hollering, oh, a woman can't do this, a woman can't do that. Y'all need to stop. Y'all need to stop it. Hebrew Israelite out.